Welcome to another episode of Victoria's Lounge from the Sankara Hotel. Now, what happens to the men in uniform, those who serve in the military, who've given of their lives to protect this country? What happens to their spouses, otherwise known as military wives? What goes on after they have given as much as their husbands have given? Well, I have a panel of women who have been brave enough to share their experiences after their loved ones have passed on. Let's meet them now. Mumbi Maingi is a mother of 3 and works with the Kenya Prisons Service. In March 2015, she lost her husband in a terrible accident. Now a single mother and sole provider, Mumbi has had to be strong in the absence of the love of her life. Daisy Biwott is in real estate management and a mother of 5 whom she raised with her late husband until his demise. He was an Air Force captain whose death has left a huge void in the family. Jessica Kiplagat is a development consultant and founder of Widows of Heroes Foundation that exists to provide psychosocial, emotional, economic, legal, and spiritual support to widows of the uniformed in Kenya. After losing her husband, who served with the 50 Air Battalion in July 2015 when his helicopter crashed, Jessica, a mother of 1, purposed to help other military widows. Helen Birich only saw her husband once a year while they were married. He served with the 1st Kenya Rifles Battalion in Nanyuki, which kept him away from home. His demise earlier this year would be a huge loss and test for Helen and her 2 children. Hashtag Victoria's Lounge is how you can chime into the conversation on social media. A conversation that is certainly not easy. I feel being a military wife is another struggle. And before we get into a deeper part of what it's like, Jessica, tell us about what life was like with your husband when you first met.
I met Major Morel in 2003 in a matatu. We're traveling from Eldoret to Kapsoar. So at first I was sitting in a different position, but then after some time, after the journey, half of the journey, I moved closer to him. I don't know why, maybe. So obviously I didn't know him, so we were strangers. So after some few minutes, we started saying hi. So we started talking. So we got to know each other. He went to Isiolo. At that time, he was attached to Isiolo. He went for another 6 months. So at that time, we were writing letters. So a letter could go for 2 months, a response another 2 months. So in the letter, it would tell you, I'm coming this date. So that date is when you'll be waiting for him. Got married in 2005.
And we'll be talking about what it was like now becoming a military wife. But it's interesting because you got used to what it would be like in your dating life before you got married.
Yes.
Yeah. And Mumbi, what about you? How did you and your husband meet?
We met with the late Aluda way back before we went to college. Then after college, when we were in college, we came closer again. But now in college, we were not supposed to meet. So the Nini was just waving to each other. We were posted to various stations. He was first posted to Eldoret. I was posted to Kitui. So there was letter writing only. So after some times, we got transfers. I came to Ruiru College. Then he came to Nairobi West Prison. So he was alternating from Ruiru to Nairobi West on daily basis. So I saw that we were using a lot of money. The fare was so much for us. So we alternated. We said that we can be in the same station. So we looked for a transfer. We went to one station. That was Kapenguria. So from there, when we stayed in Kapenguria, he passed on 2015. So it was so, I felt it later because I came to realize that he passed on after around 3 to 4 months. That's when I came to realize that he passed on. Yeah. And I was the first person who told me that, Mom, Dad is not there. It's one of my boys. Mom, unajua daddy alikufa. Kamwambia, hiyo ni uongo, acha kunidanganya. So my mom told me, it's true. It was so hard for me to get the news. Although I was not feeling well, it was hard for me. But I thanked God for the long life we stayed together, because he was a loving father to the kids. He cared for the family well.
Let's speak with Daisy and find out what life was like with your husband. When did you meet?
I met Captain in 1987. 87 I was in college, and then I was employed 88 in Kenya Power. So I met him through a cousin. So we just be friends. He was visiting me. I was living in Ruaraka those days, and he was in Air Force. So he was just crossing from Air Force to Ruaraka to visit me. We just gone like that. He said, I have to see your parents. And then he decided, he told, can we go to my place when I am on leave? And then he go to introduce me to his parents. After that, we just go on being friends. After some time, in fact, it was some months, and then he said, we have to go to Sherry House, because in Air Force, you have to keep out something, you have somebody. So we just go to Sherry House. We just go to Barron's first, and then they say it's okay. We go to Sherry House, and then we just get a certificate from Sherry House, and then he introduced me to the boss in Air Force. After some time, we just go into the Air Force to live there. And then we got our first born 89. The girl, she's 29 years. After that, she went to UK. So I was on alone, and then he came back. In 2000, we get married officially.
I met Silas on the year 2010 in Facebook. 2011, he was in Somalia by then. 2011, he came back to Kenya. We started dating that 2011. We dated for 1 year and 4 years marriage. 2012, when he came back from Somalia, that is when I met him. In fact, I dated him before even I met him.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a very cool girl. In fact, I was the one who was talking too much, but he was a very cool guy. He only talked 2 words. Okay, 2012, when he came back from Somalia, for a short time, only for a leave, he told me, Helen, now it's time we want to settle. Okay, I was so much in love with him. 2012, when I went to tell my mom somebody wanted to come officially, no, my mom was so mad. In fact, I was first year in campus. I've just joined campus, and I tell him someone wanted to come home for marriage. My mom was so mad. I went back. I did not tell my husband, by then my boyfriend, that my mom is so mad. I told him that mom said until when I'll be almost finishing 3rd year. Then he said, no, we are not going to stay this way. I wanted to settle. Okay, I did not know he went to the DC to book for the wedding. Then one day he came and asked me, give me my photocopy of my ID. I gave him. I did not know why, but I just gave him. He went to book for the wedding. That was 2012. That very day when we were supposed to go to the DC to sign for a marriage certificate, he went back to job. Again, we did not send the marriage certificate with him. He came back on 2013 on February. That is when we officiated everything as husband and wife without the consent of my parents or of my siblings. Yes. My family came to know him 2013 August. Okay. Yes, 2013 August. That is when I officially introduced him to my family, but my parents were still saying, Ellen, just hold on, finish your education first. But behind me, I was a wife, legally married wife. He was a guy that I didn't want to lose. Okay, I don't know why. I wanted to settle that early. And God sent me the right man. He was really serious with marriage, and we settled.
Wow.
Yes.
And it's such a blessing to find someone that young who wanted to settle, you know, and he wanted to have a wife and have a family. So I'm sure, and we'll talk more about what life was like now, becoming a military wife and getting into the military community. But let's take a short break. I hope you're still watching, and I hope you're gaining some inspiration from the stories you're hearing so far. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. You're watching Victoria's Lounge. We're talking about military wives, and let's talk about the reality of being a military wife. Because really, you're spending as much time apart as you are married. You're not seeing enough of this person, you know. And Jessica, how did you manage that long time of absence many times?
How I got married to Major Morel, at that time was second lieutenant. So he came home to visit. And then following day he told me, let's go to Gilgil. Let's just go visit. So we came, Gilgil, he told me, you know what, in the military, when you're married, there are a lot of benefits. There is marriage allowance, house allowance, you're given a house. So we need to make this thing legal.
Yeah.
Went to Gilgil Garrison Church and we did the wedding. At that time, I hadn't even joined campus. I was going to first year. So I think probably was so scared that this girl is going to campus and people will snatch her from me. So I need to make this legal before she goes. So she was trying to mark boundaries before. So yeah, we did our wedding, and then tomorrow we went back to Isiolo. So there was no honeymoon, there was nothing. So we went to Isiolo, I went back home. I think, I don't know if it's a disadvantage or an advantage to the military guys. These guys know how to love. Seriously, when you love a military guy, you'd never think elsewhere, even if he goes for 6 months, you're just in love, you see. So I think I got used to that life that is not always there. So, I mean, even if he's alive, most of the times you're more or less like a single person because you do everything yourself, like carrying the pregnancy. I carried my pregnancy all alone. He came, I gave birth today, tomorrow he's gone. I'm going back to the village. So we just got used to that. And I mean, that's the kind of life military wives go through.
It's the way you're describing, it's a very lonely life.
More or less, it's very lonely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you're also away from family.
Yeah, I remember when I was pregnant, as an officer, they usually given a very big house in the camp. So it was a 3-bedroom bungalow, all alone, in a gated place. So you are in there all alone. So it's not easy.
Mumbi, you both were in the prison service with your husband. And of course, earlier you were taking us through the tragic incident. You got into an accident.
Yeah.
And from that, you actually somehow lost your memory.
Yeah, I lost my memory. This is the time my memory is coming back in a way.
You did not have your memory for how long after the accident?
I think when my memory came, that's when I was being told by the doctor. That was around 6 months later.
Wow.
After the accident. And still the memory was not still to come kabisa. So after I was told he's dead, that's when I realized, kumbe watu hukufa.
How are you able to mourn someone that you can't remember? You know, because in your mind, you're thinking, you said you didn't know who your children were, even some family members. Now you've lost the love of your life and you're trying to process that and then also get your memory back. What was that like? I'm trying to understand.
The memory ilikuja as in venye niliambiwa daktari Nick amekufa. Memory sasa ndio ikakuwa part kiasi. Na instant karudi nikaambia mom, naweza taka kwenda kuona penye alizikwa kabisa, ndio I believe. So memory sasa, I think hata mama akasema utaenda peke yako Kitale. Nikasema ndaenda na mtoto mmoja. So nikaenda na Alice, the girl, nikaenda naye mpaka kwa grave site. Hapo kuona grave ndio sasa nilibelieve kabisa. Nikaingia kwa nyumba nikakuta vitu went apart, things went apart kwa nyumba. So most of the things zilitolewa kwa nyumba. So after kuenda kwa my father-in-law's house, nikauliza vitu zilipelekwa wapi? Nikaambiwa wakati wa matanga watu walikuja wengi sana, ndio vitu za Nick zilitumika. So nikasema I wish I was feeling well, ningekuwa kwa hiyo mazishi ya Nick kabisa.
What did you feel guilty that you were not able to be there at the burial?
Yeah, in a way I felt guilty because my father-in-law was asked by my parents to postpone the burial for some time so that I can feel well. Then they buried, then they said, the expenses we've used so far, we don't want to use it anymore.
So now life without your husband, Nick, 3 children. What was going through your mind? You're the only one that they are relying on.
Okay, whatever was going in my mind, there's a time I felt like committing suicide. Then I said, no, I won't commit suicide. These kids are mine. I'll be their father, I'll be their mother. Whatever they want, I'll provide for them. And that's what I've done for the last 3 years. I've been providing for them everything. Then I have supporting parents. They have supported me to bring up their kids up to where they are now.
Wow.
So I thank God for the supporting parents that I have.
No, it's amazing that you have family who can rise up to help during that time. And Daisy,
Yeah.
your husband joined in '89
Yes.
in the Air Force. So he had been in the Air Force for 13, 14 years about?
14 years.
14 years.
Yeah, it was like 14 years.
So what was that like? That huge span of time, 5 children, you're growing and raising your family in the military. What was it like?
He affected me so much because we are so close with him. It was a laughing fact actually. So he affected me for some time, but I left everything to God.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and it breaks my heart listening to all of you, just hearing how you've given most of your life to this man, and literally you've given your life to the service also. But you hardly have a connection with them. You know, it's someone that you love so much, but you can't really...
You can't see him.
Yeah, you don't have a relationship really with this person, though you love them so much, you know. And Helen, you were young, you really loved this guy. Just take us through what that was like. Now you're married, you've entered the military community. What was life like for you?
Okay, life for me was kind of, I was not that bored that much because when he was in Somalia, I was in school. For the 4 years we were married, I was in school. We married when I was first year, you see? So I was in school all through. When I was in third year, that's when I became pregnant. Okay, I gave birth 2015 on June. Then I was in third year by then, busy as a mother, in school, as a military wife, back there home as a mother's girl. I managed all that. So I was busy all the time.
So you were married for 4 years?
Yes.
How many times did you see your husband in that 4 years?
2013 he came on August. We did my wedding, he went back. 2014 he came back. 2014 he came back on October. And that's when I conceived. He went back until he came back when our daughter was 3 months old. Exactly 2015 September. That was when he came back when our firstborn daughter was 3 months old. Yes.
So you were seeing your husband at least once a year?
Yeah. Most of the time was in Moyale, Garissa, Moyale, Wajir, Mandera, to Somalia. That was, yes.
So what was going through your mind? You're not seeing him. Of course, you're communicating,
Yes.
you know, phone calls or even or through email, but you know, you're not seeing him for days, months at a time.
Sometimes back I didn't understand the kind of job he was doing, so I was complaining. Then it reaches a point, he was explaining to me. Sometimes when I could talk with these friends, they were telling me how military life. Then I had to understand him.
You women have some very huge hearts, let me just say that. to be able to go through what you did. And we'll talk about death. It is something that is inevitable for any military family. And after the break, stay with us. We'll be talking about what these women are going through now once their husbands passed on. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. You're watching Victoria's Lounge. We're here with some very brave military wives, talking now about the reality of death, something that comes with marrying someone who is in the service. Jessica, yours, like everyone else's here, was very traumatic when you lost your husband. How did he pass on?
So Major Morel went to South Africa in 2015, January, for helicopter instructor course. So he came in May as an instructor. So, and then he stayed in Kenya for 2 weeks, then he was deployed to Somalia. That was in May, end of May. So yes, he went there, used to communicate. So in 2015, July, 6th July, we spoke with him on Sunday, on 5th. He was okay. On 6th, when he passed on, we didn't talk during the day. He had come from Somalia, so he landed in Bargoni. So it was around 6:30 in the evening, so he landed. They went to the officers' mess. So after some time, like 30 minutes to 1 hour, he was asked to reposition the helicopter. So there were 2 helicopters, so they were asked to reposition. The first helicopter landed. But when he went up, the helicopter burst into flames, so he came down burning. So he burnt beyond recognition.
Take your time. And I know it's something hard to recount. Also, given that you don't know what happened, they're still trying to figure out and investigate. How did you find out?
So I got 2 messages from Facebook, his friends. So one of his friends asked me, when was the last time you spoke to Morel? It's like he's been involved in a plane crash. So another one wrote to me that it's a dark evening for all of us, that 2 of his colleagues. So I connected the dots, just knew he was no more. So we went to see the body. Morel lost most parts of his body. Didn't have arms, legs, a head, and the rest part of the body was burnt beyond. So after we just viewed the body, we came back, started arranging for burial, obviously with the military guys. But then after burial and maybe the compensation process, your relationship with the military ends there.
How did that make you feel, considering when you married him, you're brought into this community, you get a house, you get insurance cover. All of a sudden, when he's gone, it's like you don't exist.
For me, I wasn't that connected to the military because most of these things, I had them because I was also working. If I had insurance from my workplace, so I would rarely visit the military and as well, I didn't stay in the military camp. I just stayed for a few months.
Okay.
Because my husband never stayed in there. We built home, so we were staying in our home in Utawala. So I didn't get that attachment with the military so much. But then when he died, I felt that there was that neglect, given that this guy died protecting the nation. And having died protecting the nation, you would expect them to do much more than just burying him and that's it.
I'll come to you, Mumbi, but Daisy, take us through the day that you found out your husband had passed.
I was in town, actually. I was in salon. After finishing a salon, I went to electricity house. So I was wondering why Colonel is calling me. He was telling me there is an accident has happened, and did the captain go home because I think that once is his car. They said somebody has called him from Embakasi, Garrison. Somebody was following him, and then he just see the accident has happened. He just peep, and then he see the empty Air Force jacket. He has just put it in. He just called straight away Air Force. And then he called me, I say yes. He told me, where are you? I'm in town. So, okay. Some people have gone to Naivasha to lift him. So just don't go home. Just go to Forces Memorial. The ambulance came. My sister-in-law was just walking. He just walked out of the car. So I say maybe they are okay, because when my sister is just walking, maybe it's okay. And then after some times I see the nurses are not, they are so reluctant. I see what is not happening. Because if it is the one who has the car's roll, how comes the sister is coming and is not coming? So he passed on when he was lifted from, and that was it.
Now you've lost the...
And I was expecting 3
And you were
months.
expecting at that time?
Yeah, I was expecting that time.
Helen, you know, it wasn't too long ago that you lost your husband. And for many military wives, the fear, whenever you get a phone call, is it could be that phone call, you know. But how did it happen?
I was home doing cleaning outside at around 10 a.m. I saw 4 cars coming in the compound. And it was two was from our neighbors and 2 from our church members. I didn't know what was this they wanted. I was taken into our house. Okay, then a few minutes, my mom came in the house, and so many people also came in our sitting room. When the last person who came was my uncle. He was crying, and she told me, "Pole sana Helen." Then I didn't know what is this. I cried and I asked my mom, "Mom, ni nini mbaya?" Then she told me, "Baba Tasha." I asked her, "What is wrong with Baba Tasha?" And she told me, "Baba Tasha ameenda." I asked her, "Amekufa?" Kanambia, "Yes." I fainted on that site, and I was heavily pregnant. After a few minutes, I was on my senses again. I wanted to know more. I asked my uncle. People were so many in our house, asking my uncle how it happened. He told me he involved in a bomb, and then followed by bullet shots. I demanded, I wanted to see my husband's body. On Thursday, we traveled to Nairobi to view his body. But we couldn't view that Thursday because it was late. Friday, the following morning, we went to DFMH, Defense Memorial Mortuary, to view his body. Okay, when I was in the door, I saw a body there, covered with a white sheet. Okay, I moved. So many people are behind me, and next to that body, there were soldiers. They opened the face, only the face. I saw my husband's body. I cried. I was so mad. I don't know. I pushed my husband's body. I don't know, I just hold him tightly. So people are holding me back. I was heavily pregnant, so they were holding me so slow, gently. So they took me out. Okay, I wasn't satisfied. Where these people have only showed me the face of my husband. I went back alone. So by the time I was where my husband's body was, those people came back. Those officers were not there around. I held that sheet that was covered my husband's body. I threw it behind him there. So by the time that officer turned back to pick the sheet, I'd already viewed my husband's body. He was so burnt badly. And he had a very big hole here. Another here, another bullet shot here. He was so badly hurt.
What was going through your mind now to see that he died such a violent death? You know, gunshot wound, he had stepped on an IED?
Yes.
That caused so much damage to his body.
Yes.
You said you were angry, you know, I'm sure wondering what happened, how was he put in this place? But what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I really wondered why. I cried asking God, why did this happen this soon? I was heavily pregnant. My daughter was only 1 year, 5 months, fresh from campus. I was so much devastated. I really didn't know how I could start life. I cried so much. In fact, I remember I cried all the way from Nairobi to Eldoret. My daughter used to sing the song, Baba alikufa, Baba alikufa. So up to now, she's still saying Baba alikufa, but she doesn't know what is it.
And even as we wrap up, Jessica, because you mentioned the importance of counseling. A lot of times you don't get that from the military, but you decided to take a step on your own to reach out to fellow military widows. So tell us more about it.
It's a very, very crucial foundation that, I mean, it has never been founded before. It's a new thing, and we looking forward for it to grow and be able to help other widows, because with our presence in Somalia, we expect things to happen. We expect more widows to come in. Though it's not our wish, it's the environment.
Of course.
So that's it. So we are progressing well. We are hoping that in future it's gonna become something big.
And it's good to know that you've created this community. It's almost like a safe space for women who have lost their husbands. And Mumbi, what has your healing process been like, you know, after losing your husband, Nick, and trying to find a normal life for you and your children?
Okay, my normal life, I'm trying to catch up with it. Despite the difficulties they are, especially when the kids ask me, Mom, tunataka kitu fulani, kama dadi angekuwa. So the word kama angekuwa, it's hard. Because even me, there are some guys that I see at work, some are his height. I say, I wish angekuwa too. Because when they have worn uniform, I see him. So I'm trying to heal slowly by slowly, of which the counselings that have gone have helped me so much.
And you, Helen, you are still a very young widow, but through this experience, what would you tell another young widow or even a young woman who's just gotten married? What are some things that you have learned yourself that you would tell them right now?
I made peace with myself that I'm going to take care of my babies alone. And they're doing very well. They're healthy, they're smart. And that's what gives me peace. When I gave birth, I gave birth to a baby boy, and I called him my husband. My husband was Silas Kirwa, and I named my son Silas Kirwa. So every time when I see my son, I see my sweetheart. It's like I'm raising my husband again as a small baby. So that's what gives me strength.
Thank you so much, Helen, Daisy, Mumbi, and Jessica, for being brave enough to come and share your stories. I hope that it's encouraging to those who watch, that it's a challenge to also those who are in institutions who can actually do something to help widows of those who have served our country so well and given their lives to ensure that we here in Kenya are safe. So thank you so much, and we honor them as well. Thank you. Thank you for watching Victoria's Lounge. Thank you to Sankara Hotel for hosting us. But before we wrap up, let's take a look at the Victoria's Lounge story series brought to you by Nivea. Take a look.
So my name is Sharon Kitnganga. I am currently 23 years old, a student at the University of Nairobi. I am also a TV presenter and a social entrepreneur. New Book Media is an innovation space in the information sector. So it's basically a place where young people can come up and create different avenues of giving out this information to youth, especially between high school and university. I had gone through this phase where I had mild clinical depression and I was developing suicidal ideation. So then discovering what mental health with my family, it helped my family understand what I was going through as well as helping me. So then I started off with my Mental Matters, the mental health project, then realized, now I need to learn how to start a company, because you can't just say I have a project. In terms of the capital, I started on a zero budget. That's why I'm very insistent on young people learning how to utilize the resources around them instead of waiting for that particular point where you're successful, have money. Entrepreneurship it's a personal journey. it's not just running a company or having a successful name or a successful project. Because there are days I wake up, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Something isn't working out. Funding won't come pop. You have to actually convince someone why they should invest in your project. Failure has taught me that it's just a lesson. It's good to wallow and feel bad when you fail, but don't unpack your suitcases and camp out in that situation. It's okay to not be okay and accept that. Go through your map, what went wrong, yes, I should have done better here. Dust off your feet, start again. If you are a budding entrepreneur, I would say don't give up. Meet up with people in that industry, hear what the view is. Is your product viable at this particular point? And then start off. Don't ever be held back by the fact that I don't have this, I don't have that. Talk to people around you, put yourself out there. You'd be surprised how many people would want to partner with you. Success is not gonna come overnight. Rome wasn't built in 3 days. Thank you. I'd say a strong woman to me is a woman who knows herself and is not afraid to voice an issue out. A woman who will stand for her community, for her family, for her friends, and for herself.
All right, just a bit of inspiration there for you. Thanks for watching. Let's do this again next week. Have a wonderful evening.